Welcome everyone. You were listening to and perhaps watching Not Sauce for Work on the Hot Sauce Sports Network. We will have some changes coming. New names, new lineups, all sorts of different stuff heading into the fall season. Because as it turns out, the closer and closer we get to football season, Terry, the amount of work we have is absolutely insane. Terry Tam joining me on remote, as it has been since the start of the pandemic. How's it going, Terry?
Very good. The thing that makes me work the most is fantasy football, and it's not because I'm doing like all this research. Because, as like you saw in our live stream, like this is it. Yeah. That's it. This is my research, but it's time consuming, especially when you're in.
It happened.
There it is.
So the headphone started working mid segment. That's good. That's perfect.
It's the inconvenience of like certain times, because I work like at nights, and I'm in real estate school, so I'm doing all these things, and it's like now we have one tonight at 10 o'clock. And I had one at 10:30 last night.
It is an auction dynasty draft. I don't understand who thinks this is going to take less than 6 hours. Like, it's going to be so long. I'm going to just load up with a giant coffee.
Oh, I mean, I assume it'll be like, what, an hour and a half, 2 hours?
I'm thinking it's going to be long because it's auction. It always takes longer.
But I've never done an auction draft. From what I understood, it's like auction. Yeah, it's going to take a bit longer than a standard. Like, a standard draft should be an hour.
Yeah.
So like a minute and a half time.
I've done two that were like done offline. Well, they were online drafts, but they were not through an app. One was through a third-party app. That one was okay, but it still took long. It was about 3 hours. And I did one with a group that I just expect to win this one really easily. That's why I joined. And it's done through Messenger. Guys just send their picks in through Messenger. So it took like just 6 hours, and I was tanked by the end.
If only technology worked, and you can use apps that are like, there's probably a million apps you can use in drafts, but yet some people still want to go through Messenger to do.
It's so weird. It's so weird.
Draft. So why was it on Messenger?
It's because it's a group of guys that they get together every year, but like as of last year they stopped doing that because of the pandemic, and also like I was in a different city, they were not in a different city, so I was like 28 beers deep. It was either way, NFL.com gave me an A+ and expects me to go 13-0. Gives me like a 48% chance to win that league. So I was like, all right, I'm fine. I will say that having written a lot of the fantasy stuff for Hot Sauce Sports, I was more prepared than ever. Like, you're talking about all the research. So like, I've been researching this stuff since April, right? Because of the blogs I've been writing and the stuff I've been preparing. And my God, the drafts have gone super well. Like, that's the most ready I've ever been for drafts, but it's so time consuming. It's insane.
Yeah, it's too much. It's too much. Like Alex and I interviewed, we had him on again, the fantasy football hustler, great guy from San Diego. He told us he did 20 drafts this year.
Jeez, I had 7 and I thought I was overwhelmed.
It's also his job though, right? Like, he did 20 last year. He said he won 2 and they were his big ones. So like, he made money on it, and it's not where he makes his money. He makes his money on Patreon. If you want fantasy football expertise and things like that, go on Patreon. It's FF Hustler 420. Guy loves weed. Gotta respect it. FF Hustler 420 on Patreon. He's great. Go follow him on Instagram too. He's awesome. He gives his live picks and his sleepers and things like that. He gives out everything basically, but this is his business and he's great. But he said he did 20 and I was like, that's fucking bananas, man. I did 4 this year. Well, I'm going to do my 4th this year tonight, and it's just brutal.
I cut down from 7 to 3. And now I'm back to 7 because of Hot Sauce Sports and flag football. And then again, like, there's one league where I want to join years ago because of really how bad they are. Because I expect that league to bankroll all my buy-ins for the other leagues.
It's just free money. It's just free money at that point,
I'll take
right?
it. I'll take free money, no problem.
Yeah.
So I was curious about something, because something happened in my draft last night. And actually, this is actually where I want to start the show. So it's kind of funny that we started with fantasy. This happened with a guy in our sort of like big money league. Like, I think top prize is like $1,800. Like, it's a pretty big buy-in. And so he was saying, it came to him and he's considering taking a quarterback. And at this point, Dak Prescott has fallen. He's somehow the 6th quarterback off the board. I'm like, all right, I'm 2 picks away. I'm getting Dak Prescott again. This is awesome. Very happy. And he's like, Tom Brady. I was like, okay. And so I was like, it's fine. You prefer one guy over another. But he was saying that, he's like, well, because I had Dak last year and that burned me. And I was like, Well, football's a physical sport. Anybody can get hurt at any time.
I like that. It's like I'm not going to take the guy that freakishly broke his leg.
Yeah.
But I'm going to take the
never
guy
been
that
hurt before. Who had never been hurt before.
But I'll take the guy that's statistically worse than him fantasy-wise.
Yeah. It was, and I want to know, like, do you have superstitions like that? Like guys you hold on to for longer than you should?
Oh yeah. I'm
like guys do you take because you won with them, or guys you refuse to take because they burned you?
Oh man, you know how long I kept DeMarco Murray on my keeper league, no matter how bad he was. DeMarco Murray won a league for me once, and well, obviously now I don't take him, but guys like Carlos Hyde, I'm always like, oh, Carlos Hyde's available, but like he's not going to do anything, like these are guys that I like, and it's like I do get attached to players, and I get attached to my own players, so I hoard players. Like if you offer me a trade, it's not that I overvalue my players over yours, which some people do, and they're the biggest assholes for that. But what it is with me is like I just like, fuck, I don't want to give him up just in case he does better. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to be the guy like, fuck, I should have kept him, It's like, and it happens so often where I drop a guy a week right before he explodes, and it's crazy, man. But yeah, like there's players that I look at, like Des Bryant was big for me, and Jason Witten. Like I looked at them and I was like, I'm gonna draft them around early just so I can get them. Like I did that with Tony Pollard this year, but I took him as like my fourth or third running back in all of my leagues.
Yeah.
So if Tony Pollard's on the board, I'll probably auction a lot of money for him because I want him across. I also like getting guys in all my leagues like the same. Like my roster is pretty much the same. Like out of the 3 drafts I have so far, I have Dak in 2, Justin Herbert in 1. I have Baker Mayfield as my backup in all 3. I have Tony Pollard, Christian Kirk, and Henry Ruggs in all 3. I have who else do I have? I have the Rams in all 3. I have the Titans in 2. Like it just, I like to be, I don't want to overthink too much because then I'm going to fuck it up. But I know myself and I'm not going to manage it properly and I'm going to lose.
Like I like a little variance. Like in my 2 biggest buy-ins, I ended up with like the 6th pick in one, 7th pick in the other. And one I went Devontae Adams, and then the other one, the pick came to me where I had the option to take Devontae Adams, and I went Travis Kelce instead, which is, I mean, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Like one's gonna be the top wide receiver, the other's gonna be the top tight end. Like it's all good. But it was just like I was like, you know what? If one of those guys gets hurt, I think I'm still okay to win one championship somewhere else. Like even though they don't know they're on my team, right? So
Kelsey's been in number 1 for all my drafts, like first round.
Yeah, well, I took him in 6th
1
overall and 7th overall last night.
Yeah, I got him 8th overall last night in my draft, and 11th. It fell to 11th.
That's amazing, Jesus.
Yeah, he fell to 11th. But that league, it used to be a keeper league, and now it's a redraft. Okay. So it's a little different, but so it fell to me. But overall, I've been pretty happy with my teams. I look at guys like, I'm gonna look at your numbers last year, and I'm gonna assume that you're gonna double. You're gonna do the exact same thing.
Double.
That's basically, yeah.
You
double those
4,000 yards.
Dak Prescott averaging 9,000 yards a year. It's perfect. Yeah. I love it.
So for me, my guy of holding off too long, even when he stopped being productive, and even when he started getting banged up, was AJ Green. Like I think this year's the first year I didn't draft AJ Green. And every year I drafted him, I held
and he's available.
For like 4 weeks too long. Oh, obviously he's available.
He's available.
He's a corpse. He's the Walking Dead at this point. Eagle, do you have?
So who do they have?
Who's this?
So who do they have? The Cardinals. They have Hop. They got him. They have Christian Kirk. They don't have Andy Isabella anymore, do they?
I believe they do.
I think they do. Or I think you might have been trade bait at one point. He might have gotten traded. I feel like he's not on their team anymore. But if they do have him, that's a sick receiving core right there.
Yeah.
Why are you looking that up?
I think I'm looking at who's on the Cards wide receivers. Rondale Moore. They drafted Rondale Moore, who looks really good. Josh Dotson.
Yes.
Weirdly there. I love this time of year for the NFL. I had this in my article, by the way. The Houston Texans lead the league, and oh my God, that guy plays there. Because this time, it's when you find out like the 3rd and 4th string guy is like, oh, I guess Mark Ingram is on the Houston Texans.
Did you see? So stupidly enough, I pulled a Terry Time and I wrote AFC South preview when you were supposed to write the AFC South preview. Now we're missing an AFC North. And it's funny because I specifically picked the AFC North so I can put Baltimore as 4th place.
Naturally.
Just to piss off Alex.
I would have done the same thing, by the way. Respect.
Yeah, just to piss off Alex the intern. They're going 1-15. But it sucks because in my preview for AFC South, I had the Texans going 0-16. And I really do. The reason why is because I looked at the running backs. Mark Ingram, David Johnson, Rex Burkhead, and Philip Lindsay. All guys who would be second string on my Madden team. You know what I mean?
Well, but you know what? There's this thing that came up that I keep seeing about Philip Lindsay. He's the first undrafted rookie free agent to have 2,000-yard rushing seasons of his first 3 years. So I don't know what that means, but maybe he's good. Eagle, do you have a guy? You can hold on to too long?
I haven't played enough fantasy, especially for football. Like I usually do like one team a year, so I try and mix it up.
You have a hockey guy or something?
But hockey, I used to do a lot of drafts. Now, again, not so much. But when I was younger, I took Zdeno Chara in every draft. Every draft. Doesn't matter. I just wanted him. He was my first D I took every time.
I like it. Well, when it comes to that time of the show, it's time to get to the news. Terry, it's the news.
Is it now?
This is the last week that we really have to stretch topics because it's really this is the absolute slowest week of the year. But thankfully, Paul Pierce gave us something. He did a full feature on SI. I loved Paul Pierce.
You gotta love Paul Pierce.
So I loved that Celtics team as a team. Like I love the players. Like Kevin Garnett to this day is one of my favorite players. I still say that like what Kevin Durant is, what Chris Bosh was, the first one of that, and just a meaner version of that was Kevin Garnett. But the more I see them in retirement, the cringier I find them, and although I don't think he's wrong about anything he said here, just himself. That's just who he is. Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Rajon Rondo, Kendrick Perkins. Again, all players I loved on the court. My God, it's frustrating to listen to them because it always amazes me when guys are really talented, but yet are really insecure.
I don't think Kevin Garnett's insecure. So
Kevin Garnett the least of the bunch, though. Okay, yeah, I'll say that.
And Rajon Rondo, like he's had successes, so like I don't think he's that insecure. But I do see he still has that chip on his shoulder. Yeah. Where Kendrick Perkins is always ready to like tell you why you're wrong, and Paul Pierce is always ready to tell you why he's better than you, right? So like it's just the ways. But I read a quote this week from Michael Bisping. Okay, Michael Bisping was the middleweight champ in the UFC, and he said fighters always have to think they're better than everybody. If they don't, they're gonna lose.
Well, you saw Amari Cooper today said he is the best receiver in the NFL, and people were laughing like, why wouldn't he think that?
Yeah, he has to think that. If you're like, if I go into a game and like Amari Cooper, if he go like they're playing the Bucks first week, right? Mm-hmm. If he lines up and he's on the bench and he's watching the Bucks offense and he sees Antonio Brown and Mike Evans, he can't just say, "Oh, these guys are better than me," because then the rest of the game he's fucked. You know what I mean? Just mentally. He's in the other DBs are going to get into his head. It's just this whole thing. So like you have to be a little bit delusional. You have to be a little bit overconfident in order to make up for maybe a lack of talent in one aspect. Like Kevin Garnett needed to be the biggest asshole ever in order for him to be one of the best defenders we've seen in the last like 50 years. You know what I mean? So that's the thing about Kevin Garnett. And Paul Pierce too. Paul Pierce grew up in an era where Kobe was there. LeBron was brand new. Shaq was dominating. Dwayne Wade, like he was in that era, and he was also at the end of the era of like Jordan and Reggie Miller, the best player of all time, of course. Naturally, and that whole era, like the whole late 90s, early 2000s era. So like he was still in that. So Paul Pierce had this extra chip on his shoulder, kind of like what Russell Westbrook has now, where he needs to think that he's the best. But the problem with Paul Pierce is that he still thinks he's that same player today.
Yeah, and also the thing too, with regards to, and you mentioned a player, and all jokes aside, like Reggie Miller, very, very, very good player. I kind of see Paul Pierce as the next generation's Reggie Miller. Like he was that.
Whoa.
I mean, they're both Hall of Famers. But you get what I'm saying, like guys who weren't the talk of the league, the guys who weren't the absolute most dominant players of their era, but guys who were, that next tier down, right? So like that's how I see him. But the thing that bothers me with them, and it talked about it again in this article, almost unprompted, is this sort of pettiness when it comes to LeBron. They have this whole thing about how that Celtics team prevented LeBron from winning any championships in Cleveland in his first run. And it's like, well, yeah, you had a super team. The reason LeBron went to go build a super team was because of your super team that he didn't have. Also, this whole super team that you had, they won one championship.
Also, look at the roster that LeBron had on that team.
Yeah.
Legit. Look at that roster and tell me that's exactly. And tell me that roster is a competitive roster at any era in the NBA.
No,
tell me.
It's not. It's not.
It
was exactly the type of roster that gets a lottery pick and drafts LeBron James, right? I mean, that's how you end up with that.
Exactly.
But
it's exactly the Pelicans when they got Zion.
Exactly. And he did rip on ESPN for firing him. I thought ESPN used the party as an excuse because he wasn't a particularly popular analyst in, like, at least, let's say, basketball Twitter as an example, like the louder portions of the basketball fandom. I never thought he was awful, although I felt a lot of his analysis was sort of slanted through his own prism, kind of like how Shaq's analysis is always, you got to feed the ball to the big man. Which is not relevant to today's game, but Shaq's there and he knows he's there for comedic purposes, where Paul Pierce was still trying to be sort of the serious journalist type. So I think they just use that as an excuse. But Paul Pierce's defense is like, you got guys committing actual crimes and all I did was party when I'm not working, and 3/4 of you guys all do what I was doing, and you guys are married and I'm not married.
Yeah, exactly. So like the thing is that Paul Pierce, ESPN, we talk about ESPN so often. Like, we know what kind of a company they are and how they're only protect their image, and their image only matters to what the majority decides, right? So like the majority,
not even the majority, it's the loudest segments of society.
Exactly.
So Twitter doesn't actually represent the majority, right? It's by far the minority, but it's a loud minority. So it gives this illusion of like, see, this is what the metrics are saying. People don't like this, but whereas like most people don't care who the play-by-play guy is, because you're not going to not watch Monday Night Football based on who's talking about the game.
Although, like, there's a lot of Booger almost made me not watch.
I just put it on mute.
He's not play-by-play. He's color.
Yeah, well, Terry, come on.
Well, he wasn't play-by-play. He was the color. He was the color commentator.
Yeah, they put him on a crane.
I don't even think he was the color commentator. He was like the on-field. Remember when they first started that with Tony Siragusa on Fox? That was the best. Like with Tony Siragusa behind the end zone talking shit to the players, like that was the best. Then Booger McFarland on the fucking camera acting like a doofus.
Well, you had Jason Witten doing color. He can barely do black and white.
Oh, he was awful. Awful. No, but like the play-by-play guys, unless they're phenomenal, people don't really care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
if you're like me, you're gonna put it on mute and listen to another game, like a basketball game, at the same time as watching that game, or listen to Hot Sauce Sports podcast while watching the game. Yeah. You know, but
that's the reason why we care about play-by-play guys is if they're good. Like I said, you'll never not watch a game because of the play-by-play guy.
Yeah.
But you will watch because of the play-by-play guy. Like if Joe Buck is doing a game, I'll be like, I'll tune into this Lions Bears game for no reason. You know what I mean? Like, I like Joe Buck.
I like Joe Buck as well. I remember the biggest like sports media argument you and I had once was one morning after the national championship. We were like, can't understand why you like Mina Kimes. She was brutal in the broadcast. I was like,
she was.
I was like, but I had it on mute. I don't know. I just like her analysis in general. Maybe she was brutal that game. I don't know.
She's just Mina Kimes. I like her. She's very insightful and she knows a shitload about the sport. But I don't know. I wasn't the whole broadcast bothered me. Dan Orlovsky, like the whole thing that they did, I didn't like it at all. So, but yeah, I'm not a hater of Mina Kimes, but that day I was like,
I know, it's just funny because I remember that morning and I was just like, Terry, I don't know what to tell you. I didn't listen. I was literally listening to our own show, looking for clips while watching. But
I will admit though that whenever you tell me you like somebody, I automatically I look for reasons to not like that person.
That's pretty awesome. If I like you guys are using that, I gotta be like, man, Zeke's awesome this year.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. You do that, and I'll be like, you're wrong, Pease. I'll prove you wrong by losing my fan. I do that with Alex the intern, like on Twitter. If he says something, I'll be like, well, like, what about this? You know, just to throw him off. Like the other day, he posted. It was classic. He posted my favorite Habs player, Saga, my first ever favorite hockey player, Alexander Ovechkin. They got drafted 10 years apart. I'm like, your timelines are off here. Did you start watching the Habs before you started watching hockey? And he's like, no, I only started watching. I only became a Habs fan. A Habs fan after I became an Ovechkin fan. I was like, oh, okay.
So it's a good back in time.
But you never watched Koivu play
favorite
for
player.
the Habs.
Oh.
No, so the way he explained it was that he liked his father told him about Alex Ovechkin when he got drafted, so he became an Alex Ovechkin fan. And then because he's from Montreal, because he moved here from Russia when he was like 6 or something. Mm-hmm. So when he became a Montreal fan, Koivu became his favorite Hab.
Yeah, I there was something he shared in our chat, and I didn't even comment because I was like, this is gonna be a 4-hour argument. He wrote. Already, it was like about some player, like some relatively young player who wrote, already one of the GOATs. And isn't that impossible?
Grammatically, it's wrong right away.
Already one of the greatest of all time.
One of the greatest of all time.
Plurals.
That's a good one. How many GOATs are there though?
In which country? Because
Depends.
I know where my dad's from in Italy. They outnumber people because he lives they're from a mountainside. Basically.
Apparently, there's about 1 billion goats in the world.
You just Google that or what?
Literally just Google that. Yep.
That's Eagle's job on the show, Terry.
I mean, Pease, are you shocked that I was shocked that he did his job?
That's a good point. That's an article from March 2021.
So there's probably more goats because they probably banged.
Yeah, I mean,
unless we ate a bunch because Easter passed.
Easter did pass, but it might.
Have you seen the goats that like? Have you seen the goats that climb the mountains there on the side of the mountains?
Yeah. The literal ones I referenced at the beginning of this. Because my dad was from a town in Italy that was on a mountain.
No, but like they walk up a wall basically.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild.
You ever see the eagles kill the goats?
Eagles kill goats?
Oh yeah. So eagles come and like get in their way, so they fall off and then they go down and they like scatter.
Literally, they put their talons into their back. They kind of just slowly drag them over the cliff. They're not actually looking to carry them. They just drop them to their death and then they feast on their carcass.
I've heard someone refer to eagles as a vulture with a good PR agent.
Oh yeah.
It's a very good point.
They're basically just vultures.
Yeah,
they are. 100%.
So he's preparing for a podcast with Kevin Garnett, going back to Paul Pierce. And
so again, wait, another guy who left ESPN who now has a podcast.
Yeah. I wonder if they all make more money, like by far. Like if we add up all the money they're gonna get versus what the salaries were. And be like, wow, ESPN, maybe you should be paying your people more because.
Well, listen, I mean, the thing is that you might not make as much money, but you do have more control over where your money's coming from. Yeah. So, like, if like Tom Brady has his own podcast, right? Like, so I'm sure he's funding that himself, and then whatever advertisements he gets, he just pockets whatever it is.
Yeah.
But like these guys, there's no reason why a professional athlete shouldn't have an avenue. Like when I look at Bussing with the Boys, which is probably like one of the best just like football podcasts out there, like when it comes to like conversation, like there's other podcasts, football podcasts that are better when it comes to like breaking down games and previews and stuff like that and bets. But when I Busting with the Boys with Taylor Lewan from Tennessee Titans and Will Compton, played in the NFL for years. This year he's not in the NFL. That like they're making so much money just off of that. You should use your NIL to be able to make as much money as possible. And when you work for a company like ESPN, there would be like, well, we're ESPN. We tell you you're going to be paid this much. You can tell them, go fuck yourself. Like Dan Levitard's making so much more money now.
Well, look at it. I was going to say, like, Levitard and Cowherd are the two biggest examples of, if you just take what those two guys made after leaving ESPN, that pays for all of the salaries of all the people that left ESPN in that time.
And that's why Stephen A. Smith makes the amount of money he makes, because they know that Stephen A. Smith leaves, he'll make more money, maybe the same amount of money that he's making now at ESPN for sure, on his own, because his voice is captivating. He's got hard opinions. He's a super smart guy. Well respected, like across the board.
And the people that hate him will hate listen.
100%. Like when he goes off on the Cowboys, I'm looking for him to make fun of the Cowboys.
Alex the intern always listening to every word he says, despite hating.
Always. So Stephen A. Smith, like we can hate him, but that's his shtick, right? And that's why, like Skip Bayless is the same thing. Skip Bayless is probably the dumbest person in sports on TV. He's one
of the smartest actual people because he's monetized that.
Yeah, exactly. He's just
monetized being a douche.
He knows what to do, and that's the thing I get with. and people don't realize is that the more you leave your crutches, the more you're gonna fucking just run and make the most money as possible. And that's just the reality. I mean, we had it. We saw it with Dan Le Batard. I mentioned it before.
The more I listen to this, the more I'm trying to figure out how Terry has not figured out how to monetize his stupidity.
It's a very good point. I've been trying, man.
If you were to monetize your stupidity, who would you use to help sell it for you?
Oh, I would definitely use.
Is there perhaps a gambling app?
I'm trying to think of your question based on in relation to the gambling app and how to make it.
Okay.
how I can make a connection, but there isn't. But the best way for me to monetize this. Mm-hmm. If I go out and monetize my stupidity, the best way that I can do that to raise some funds is just make a few easy bets on Hot Streak.
There we go.
Hot Streak Fantasy. Use Hot Sauce promo code and they'll match your deposit with a bonus. $50. They give you $50. $100. They give you $100. Use the Hot Sauce promo code to benefit from that. Listen, I've gambled. I've been a recreational gambler for the last 5 years. This year has been less recreational, more value. And the value of this app is unbelievable. Like if I look at a Mets game and I see that you have Lindor, Alonso, and then and Baez coming up, I'm putting them all as hits. And if that wins off a $5 bet, I'm making $250 just to let you know. So there's little things like that. People don't realize the amount of odds, but Hot Streak definitely gives you the best in-play odds. You pick 2 to 3 guys here and there. You just play that all game and you'll be in the plus every night. I can almost guarantee it.
Yeah, it's fun. Honestly, it's and the best thing about it is it doesn't take long. You do it while you're watching the game. It's another way for you to engage with the game, right? So that's the best part.
Most of my bets are made on the toilet bowl.
Yeah, well, as they should be. The Raiders, they took a gamble when they made Richie Incognito one of the team captains. This news, I love whenever Raiders stuff happens because Duke, our graphite, gets so mad.
Yeah, he's so angry because this is also a super stupidity by the Raiders.
Yeah, it's a next level stupidity.
First of all, Richie Incognito, is he same level that he used to be? I mean, I'm sure he's still good, I'm sure he's a leader in the locker room. But
you say that, but he tore the Dolphins locker room apart by being super racist. If you remember.
Yeah, but maybe he's reformed. We don't know.
He was also not a leader of his family when he took a gun to his father's funeral.
Oh, that's weird.
He was also not a leader in the gym when he threw weights at somebody and told him that he was being investigated because he was a spy and the FBI was after him, although he couldn't figure out who he was spying for.
So why? I mean, listen, we're not
selected by the organization, right? Not voted by the players.
Yeah, not voted by players.
Because voted by players, you're like, all right, he maybe has a locker room presence, they respect him, blah blah blah. Here, it's just Gruden going, I like this guy.
You know what I think it is? I think Gruden's might have lost control of that locker room, and he needs Richie to kind of put some order into it.
When you need Richie Incognito to control the locker
start throwing
room
weights
on your
at
behalf,
people,
you have way bigger problems on your head.
Big time.
But that's a sign that the Raiders are going to struggle this season, right? Because they seem like a team that could be good. Except
they have Derek Carr. They're not good.
So Derek Carr statistically is the greatest Raiders quarterback.
That's not saying much.
But the thing is, he threw 29 touchdowns, 9 interceptions last season. If he did that in 1999, he would have been instantly in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, instantly.
That's like Troy Aikman level. Numbers,
yeah, but by that definition, everyone in today's NFL would be in the Raiders.
Oh, absolutely. But I'm saying he's not terrible. He's a guy who can win games. It's just that nothing ever seems to work in that organization right now.
He's a better version of Blake Bortles.
Yeah, I'll say that. Less handsome though.
Blake Bortles is a beauty.
Speaking of leaders, Deshaun Watson makes the 53-man roster, and his position is listed as other. So I don't even understand how this is being handled by any of the parties. So you knew he wanted to leave before the draft. You don't draft a quarterback. There's also these legal troubles that are happening at the same time. You still don't draft a quarterback. You don't make a trade for a quarterback. I don't understand. Is it just a clear tank?
Is Bill O'Brien still there?
No, Cullen. Cullen
know.
or Cully?
One of them.
David Cully, is coach.
No, I know. I'm just saying
it's not worth looking up because
you won't be there in 4 weeks.
Yeah. Because Bill O'Brien's still there. You kind of you assume these decisions will be made, but a new guy comes in, fresh blood. you think that maybe. But I don't know why they're keeping him. Just get rid of the contract, like as if you can't make the money. You're in Houston. You have a beautiful stadium. You have a sick fan base. You're like one of the most populated cities in the States.
It's because they're convinced they're going to get 3 firsts and 2 seconds for him.
Well, they haven't gotten it yet, so they're not getting that yet. Like at this point, just cut your losses. Like if you're listing him as other, what does that change for you? Does that mean that like next year, if they release him, they don't have to pay him as much? Like there must be something there. But I don't know. I just think that this whole thing is you're waiting for him to be like all these charges to be dropped, and then all of a sudden you're going to throw him in and he's going to win you championships. The rest of your team is garbage. You know what I mean? Like when your number one receiver is Brandon Cooks, who hasn't had over 1,000 yards. Actually, Brandon Cooks like 5 years ago had 1,000 yards. But then after
Brandon
that,
Cooks has had 1,000 yards every season in his career.
Every year?
I posted that in my article today. He had like 1,200 yards last year.
So do you think there is an actual strategy from the Texans of this year is just going to be a wash because we're not going to be able to trade Watson for anything? So let's just see what happens. Maybe charges get dropped and I can either keep him or trade him for value. Or worst case, we just plan for next year, right? Like, that's got to be the game plan here.
Yeah, because if you can't put him on your practice squad because someone will basically take him, you can't cut him because someone will sign him for peanuts, and you're stuck on paying most of it. I guess that's probably the most accurate scenario.
He still has a value, even if it's like a second-round pick. He still has a value, so I get that
no
part.
No one's gonna touch him now. He's poison, right?
He's big-time poison until these charges are dropped, or I don't know what happens.
Well, the weekend that the Dolphins. The report emerged that the Dolphins were still trying to make a trade for him. During that week, it was announced that the FBI had opened a criminal investigation into Deshaun Watson. So, like,
that's crazy.
As a Dolphins fan, I was like, seriously, guys? Like, you basically, like, the FBI very rarely investigates a guy unless there's a body of evidence, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's we said from the beginning, it's a messy situation. We're gonna keep following up on it. It's just getting harder and harder to see how he can have a future in the NFL. The Broncos. So Eagle told me the story. I didn't actually see the story, so I'll let Eagle tell it. It's about the Broncos last season. Remember that's the time where they had no quarterback, and so some practice squad wide receiver came in and played quarterback and went like 4 for 20 and got his face caved in constantly by the defense?
No.
You don't remember that? It was the big scandal because it was a COVID year, right? And Broncos literally had all their quarterbacks on COVID protocol, so they had no quarterback.
For they had that running back there. What was his name?
Exactly.
Kendall Hinton.
Kendall Hinton, that's it. Yeah.
What's he listed at? There was an interview with Roger Goodell recently about how the NFL kind of had like a secret COVID plan that they didn't want to tell the teams about because they were like, well, if we don't need it, we don't want to like get people thinking about it or deal with it or whatever. And from that report, there was a leak that came out that explained the whole situation, right? Because there were other games. I think it was like the New England Patriots. There was a couple other games where people were on the COVID protocols and they kind of either tried to look at moving the game or, doing things around it. But this one they didn't do anything with, right? They left it. Apparently, it's because there was security camera footage from the Broncos facilities showing all 4 of the quarterbacks going into the tape room to watch film.
Spitting in each other's mouths.
No. Specifically taking their bracelets that are supposed to be like the tracing things to see who you're in contact with, putting them in opposite corners of the room to then sit with each other and watch film. So there was proof that they were purposely trying to toy with the system in place to prevent this from happening. And so Goodell basically told the Broncos to go fuck themselves.
Wow.
So I thought of 2 things. One was if you watch the Aaron Hernandez documentary and you realize that one of the main reasons he got convicted was that he instructed his wife to dispose of the guns, and then the security cameras he installed himself showed her disposing of the guns. So that's one. The second thing was, what's a thing where, because you have to imagine separating all these trackers, right, and trying to get away with this. It seems like it's a lot more effort than just sitting in different corners in the same room. What's a thing that you've done as like either like a procrastination or trying to get away with something that is way more time consuming and way less effective than just doing the thing?
Oh man. That's a good point. I've done a lot. I know I just can't think of anything now.
Taking the time to go to the gym like for me sometimes it will take 2 hours before I eventually get out of my house to go spend 45 minutes at the gym. And like the whole thing is now taking me 3 hours. So it's just going.
For me, I think it's preparing to like when I was in university, it was like setting my room up so I can study properly and then still put the TV on. Still put the TV on in the background and not study properly. Like there's all that. But I can't think of anything now. But yeah, there's been a few. I've been like I'm always looking for an easy way out of like preparing for shit.
I remember I had a friend in university who created this insane like thing for cheating where like there was like, you know, let's say there's 6 chapters to learn, right? And there's 6 guys, and so like you learn this chapter and I'll learn this chapter and then in the exam room we're gonna be able to communicate this one. I was like, guys, if you all just read the 6 chapters, it would have been a lot less work than intensely knowing this one chapter and then figuring out how to communicate this information amongst each other. Eagle, do you have anything? You're pretty king procrastinator yourself.
Yeah, but I'm also extremely efficient when I finally decide to get things done, though. So it's less about the procrastination, more about the efficiency. I think the closest I've done to something really stupid is like, you know, like you'll clean something, but then you'll clean something else, which forces you to clean that first thing all over again. Mm-hmm. Like something like, imagine like you're cleaning your kitchen, right? So first you decide to sweep your kitchen floors. Then you clean the counters. In doing so, you get more shit on the floor. So then you have to sweep the floors again to just get rid of that stuff. And then it's like, okay, now I'm gonna do the drawers at the top. And doing that gets more shit on the counters. And now you gotta clean the counters. And you gotta clean the floors.
That happens to me all the time because I clean my kitchen late at night, and I do that super high. So it takes me 3 hours, but also the order of which I do things don't make sense. So I'll forget that I'm doing something. So I'll wash a plate. Put it to try, like, I gotta sweep the floor. Sweep, like, one section of the floor, like, I gotta clean the counter. Wipe the counter clean, like, oh, the dishes. Go back to the dish. Clean another dish. Put that away. I have a dishwasher. Put a dish in the dishwasher. And that takes me about 3.5 hours, and then I go to bed. It's a great way to spend a night. I highly recommend it. It's very entertaining.
Oh, no, I've been there. Definitely been there.
It's the best.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to mention was the Washington football team has narrowed down their list of choices of names. They finally thought about it after going with the very clever Washington football team for so much time, 2 full seasons. And these are the names they've come up with. Let's go. We'll go one by one. Eagle,
Can you say that again, but in a more condescending way? These are the names they came up with.
Well, so I wanted you to give us the names, and we would react to them.
All right. So, and these are in no particular order. This is just a list that Adam Schefter has gathered from an interview with one of the marketing or people in the leadership group of the Washington football team. The Washington Red Hogs.
Awful name. It's like a Southern Division II college football team.
So given some of the improprieties that have happened with the Washington football team, I wouldn't be shocked if it relates to actually engaging consensual bestiality with a pig and smacking that ass so hard it turns red.
It's a very good point.
Yeah, it's the only thing I can think of.
Next, we have the Washington Defenders.
I actually like this one because, you know, like we said a couple weeks ago when I was on, their defense might be pretty good. But it's also, you know, they're in Washington, the nation's capital. I get all that. It's a good name. I like that name, the Defenders.
Well, I will say that it's better than what I would call Daniel Snyder, who is the Washington Offender.
But also, it's a very, like, XFL name. Like, isn't there a team in the XFL named the Defenders?
Or I think they played against the Harlem Globetrotters once.
So the biggest problem I have with Defenders is what do you short that to, right? Because, like, for example, some of the stupider names in the NFL, like Buccaneers, you can do Bucks, right?
The Enders.
The what?
I'm pretty sure
the Enders.
XFL.
That's a stupid name.
No, the Fenders, and the mascot is a guitar.
That's not bad, actually.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
Next,
like a walking Telecaster. Although, I mean, it makes more sense with teams in Nashville at that point.
We have the Washington Armada.
So, when nothing makes you think.
Yeah, Washington know what an Armada is.
Nothing makes you think water and like a beachside city like Washington, right? Like, so when I think Armada, I think of like Spain because yes, I know it relates to naval war, but also it's because it's on water. And Washington, yeah, I get it. It's just not a place I think of as being next to water.
Like, we have a junior hockey team called the Armada here, and, it's kind of close to the water, but it's just a weird name. But no, but the XFL does have the DC Defenders. Are they stealing the name from the XFL
well, it's also
watch?
DC. Maybe they want to make like one team, one city, one name. At that point,
That's
go
the
to Nationals.
stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Yeah, stupidest name I've ever heard in my life.
Next,
But yeah,
Washington.
I'm off
Sorry,
the Defenders.
Okay, Washington Presidents.
Stupid name, dumbest name of all time.
It's got to be the most divisive name. If given
Yeah.
what we've seen over the last two presidencies, that has to be the most divisive name on the list. People won't. They'll be like 50% of the team will be like, no, these aren't my presidents.
Also, the presidents is like, what about the vice presidents? Like, are they going to have like a junior team called the vice presidents,
or like change the XFL defenders to the vice presidents,
or like the Secretary of States, like something like that.
I do
Chief of Staff.
I do like
Chief
the
of
idea
Staff.
though. In the stands, you'd
First
have,
Lady.
like if they really suck, you have fans holding up a sign saying "Not my presidents."
Washington Lone Survivor. That's good.
That's pretty good.
The Washington Brigade.
I don't know. Like, what's a brigade? Is that like a war thing? Is that like an army
It's
thing?
like a bunch
All of these are war
troops.
things.
Yeah.
Really selling America in war, huh?
No, brigade is too double A baseball team. You know, like that's.
Yeah, because brigade
It's not
makes
an
me think
NFL
youth,
team.
right? Like you
So
think
far-
really young.
So far, the NFL team, there hasn't been one, like, when you hear a name, you know it's the NFL. Like, the Seattle Kraken isn't an NHL name. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't heard an NFL name yet.
I can see the Kraken as an NBA team. Weirdly,
Yeah, I agree.
The Washington Commanders.
Command and Conquer, baby.
Don't mind this one that much. I actually like this one because it's like they command some respect. You know, it's a war. It has to do with the army, the military. You know, you're in the nation's capital. All that. I get it. I actually don't mind this one that much.
But at what point are you just pandering? Like all these names are all military based, and we know that the fan base is, in the NFL in general is right wing white America, right? Like we statistically know that's the case. These to me are very obvious pandering choices, and it's like I get it, Washington, but like, I mean, is it something you're really celebrating? Because like, isn't it like you have an army and you need to defend yourself? But these all make it seem like no, fuck that. We go into other countries and we smash that shit.
Exactly. Fuck these people.
The Washington Red Wolves.
I actually like the Red Wolves.
Yeah, this is one because when the news came out that they were going to change their name, Red Wolves came out and like they made jerseys and stuff, and it was like it looked like they were going to change their name to that, and I was like, actually a sick name. And the way they made their jersey, I think this is going to be the team name. I really do.
I really hope so. I like it.
Yeah,
like I said, it's not. It's one of the ones that's not pandering. There are actually Red Wolves in the area of Washington, like Seattle has seagulls, I guess. Same.
And there's no wolves in the NFL already, right?
I don't believe so. Just Timberwolves in Minnesota.
No, you're good then. It's not like you're.
What if you go Warwolf? Stick with the war theme.
Yeah, it's a good call.
Wolves of War.
And of course, the eighth option on the list is keeping it exactly the same as the Washington football team. I swear to God, if they keep this, it's going to be like, why did you spend millions of marketing dollars to do this?
So somebody that Daniel Snyder knows can make some money on the side.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly why this is happening. I guess that's how you end up with all the most obvious choices. So no interview today. We have Mitch Gallo coming on next week. We're saving our Montreal Canadiens, Jesperi Kotkaniemi talk for next week because the NHL, we have a little bit of time before that starts, and more news will arise because the offseason continues. The NFL is literally hours away. I can't believe I'm saying that, by the way. It's felt like the NFL has been so far away, Terry, and it's literally hours away. I'm very excited.
Hours.
And by the time you listen to this, you might be listening to it after you've already watched the Thursday night game.
Definitely.
But yeah, we'll talk to Mitch
Friday.
Gallo. We'll talk to Mitch Gallo next week about a lot of the hockey stuff. A bit more hockey-centric show, I believe. But in the meantime, let's get rapid fire.
All right, rapid fire. We're going to start with a fun one here. Ariel is the bad guy. Ariel Helwani is now
Helwani.
That's what I said. Is a free man.
Helwani. That's what I said. He's calling him. No, you said Helwani. He's calling himself Helwani because he's the heel of media now.
Yeah, that's what I said. He's a free man and is unafraid to tell people what he now thinks. Let's listen to the clip.
1,000%. And while we're talking about lies, Brendan went on his show and talked about me being a nightmare to work with, me being a bad teammate. He's heard from a million of different people that I'm the worst to work with. Talk to my colleagues. Talk to my friends if that's the truth. Talk to the production team if that's the truth. I've worked very hard to try and be the best teammate and colleague possible to help people out along the way. And so again, talk about me being a bad journalist all you want. Bad show all you want. But don't talk about what's inside here. Don't question the kind of person that I am. Try to take me down because you may be jealous or because you have some other bizarre reason for talking about me as a person when you don't even know me. I don't go personal. I don't talk about you like that. I have nothing to do with you. Leave my name out of your mouth, especially when you want to lie about me. You want to talk about my show being great? You want to talk about me being the 10-time journalist of the year? All you want. But don't lie about me.
I love the humble brag.
Don't talk about how you you gave me gigs that I should be thanking you. Don't lie, because I will come after you. I will respond. And so I did get a text from him this morning, and I said, I appreciate it, but now do it on your show.
100%.
It's very easy to apologize privately. Be a man and do it on the air. For the lies about 199, for the lies about me being a bad teammate, for the lies about the Jake Paul fight, be a man, stop lying, stop making up stories, and apologize on the air. And he said he would, and I'm looking forward to that. Stop talking about me, because those guys have been doing it for a long time. And I know what it's rooted in. But High Road Helwani ain't no more. You're looking at the Helwani era, all right? This is independent Helwani. I ain't taking those shots anymore. So everyone better know, if they come at the king, you best not miss.
I love it. So the thing is, Brendan Schaub is like a notorious, I'm going to call him exaggerator of facts. So like Brendan Schaub there's so many clips on YouTube about like Brendan Schaub being caught in a lie here and lie there, like not knowing what he's saying. So Brendan Schaub does, like I've always said this, if you like Stephen A. Smith is the same thing. Like if you do too much, you're going to get caught saying something stupid, right? If you talk too much, and Brendan Schaub at one point was he's doing it again. He has the Below the Belt podcast. He has the Food Truck Diaries. He has the Fighter and the Kid. He has the Calabasas Fight Companion, where he gets together with his buddies and they watch fights. So like these are all things. So he's always talking, and he has a huge presence online, and you know what I mean. So he's always talking. And kudos to him. He's made a great career after post fighting. But he also does this thing where if one of his friends tells him something that's like fact, he'll spew it out. Mm-hmm. And Helwani's like the first person to come out on his own show and rip Brendan Schaub for that. And it's like I'm a Brendan Schaub guy, like I'm a fan. I've followed him for a long time, and but he's wrong in this. And the reason why is like even if it's true, even if Helwani is an asshole and he's hard to work with, what basis do you have to go and basically slander the guy's name on your show based on information that your buddy told you because he doesn't like him? You know what I mean? It's a little sketchy.
Yeah, and Helwani seems to be a guy who doesn't like, a lot of people either like him or don't like him. I think he's great. I find him entertaining for someone who is I
haven't missed an episode since he's been back to the MMA Hour. I haven't missed an episode. Awesome. I work and I have it in the background because he gets all the best guests. He gets all the best fighters. He's current all the time, and he's factual, and he doesn't fuck with anything. He does everything he wants to do, and he's a funny guy. Even the people that don't like him that he's had arguments with come on the show again.
The entertainment factor. Ariel Helwani, to me, is one of the most entertaining guests out there. One of the most entertaining analysts out there. He's super interesting. And for someone who's admittedly a casual like me, like MMA falls like 6th or 7th in the sports I'll watch and sports I like. He attracts me because, like Terry, like you're gonna watch anyway, right? Because like it's a sport you love and it's something you've done yourself, and you're an avid consumer. Whereas look, if there's a big fight, I'll watch that one. Back in the day when, it was just easier to do this. Hey, it's a big fight. I'll go to a strip club, get some wings and watch a fight. No problem. You know what I mean? And that's just the kind of fan I was. Ariel Helwani was the first guy that gripped me. Of course, he did it with our joint hatred of David Sampson. And I was a fan of his since then.
All right, next, Hold Me Titan. Former teammates Tom Brady and Mike Vrabel have entered into a war of words on I think it was from a Tampa Bay Buccaneer YouTube video where they're kind of doing their own version of Hard Knocks, but like proprietary, let's call it.
Yeah. So every show, every team has their own.
Yeah, exactly. So there's this clip that's now circulating around.
The Tennessee Titans are in town, coached by Mike Vrabel, who played with Tom Brady for 8 seasons.
Mike's kind of an ass if you get to know him. He went to Ohio State. Obviously I don't like him. It'll buy you another day. Go as hard as you can. It'll buy you another day. Don't earn the right to be here.
There's a healthy competition between us, obviously, even though he's kind of fat and out of shape now. Physically, he's really declined to a pretty sad state.
The Tennessee
there's an extension version of this where you hear him saying like, all right, so I guess we're going to be carrying Tom Brady to another Super Bowl by the defense.
Yeah.
Amazing. I love Tom Brady post Belichick.
Mm-hmm. He's
no, it's great.
I hated him for decades. A, because
100%.
he was boring, and B, because he destroyed my Dolphins year in, year out. But
the Dolphins destroyed themselves.
That's true. That's true.
Now he's going to destroy the Cowboys on opening night of the
division. Sorry?
Now he's going to destroy the Cowboys in 2021 opening day.
I don't think so. That'll be a fun game.
I actually think the Cowboys win that game.
Yeah, you started with in back-to-back sentences. He destroys the Cowboys to start the season, and I think the Cowboys win. Obviously,
that's how much of a Cowboy fan I am. I have no idea what the fuck is gonna happen.
No, you're totally right. Like I've been saying it. It's just he's a bastard. He makes me want to love him. He's just getting more and more handsome. It's cool. I'm enjoying it. I love the fact that he's starting to blaze a trail for like other quarterbacks and other players who say, you know what, I can be fun. I don't have to do the normal, nonsense quarterback gibberish that they give in post game and literally say 0 things for 3 minutes at a time. It's enjoyable. I've enjoyed this part of Tom Brady's career.
All right. Don't be a cartoon goldfish. Bert Goldstein, who writes for and plays Roy Kent on Apple TV's Ted Lasso, has addressed rumors that his character is a CGI rendition on his Instagram page. Let's hear it right now.
Can't hear anything.
There's a fucking load of mad shit happening on the internet today, as usual. I just want to clear up something once and for all. I am a completely real, normal human man who just happens to live in a VFX house and does normal human basic things like rendering and buffering and transferring data. I don't know what everyone's fucking problem is.
So
I'm so confused.
So have you seen Ted Lasso?
I know I haven't seen an episode yet, but I want to. Yeah,
it's
be
amazing.
a goldfish, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. I
actually used that the other day at jiu-jitsu. So like I got tapped out and I was like, fuck, that was stupid, like stupid move. And I'm like, and I heard somebody say, be a goldfish. I'm like, be a goldfish, and I use it.
It works. My favorite Ted Lassoism is it's like we're standing at the top of a lucky tree, hit every wrench on the way down, and land into a pile of Sour Patch Kids. It's a super enjoyable show. But so like from day one, so I didn't even know people were saying this. My wife and I watched this under heavy influence, and we were convinced that every character in the show was real, but he was actually animated. Like not even like particularly realistically looking animated, but like reboot animated. And so we thought we were the only ones. And he kind of moves awkwardly, like he's really stiff when he moves. But so a friend of mine then sent me this, and he says, "Oh, you're not the only crazy idiot. This is actually like a Reddit rumor that this one character on the show is animated." CGI. Okay. And I think that stands as proof that I'm right.
I gotta see a clip. I gotta see a clip of him on the show.
Eagle, while we're doing the next analysis, just try and get a clip of him on the show.
No.
Yeah.
GM and Juice. Mets general manager Zach Scott has been placed on administrative leave after he was arrested for a DUI charge, which brings us back to our usual analysis of when you have so much money, why are you driving drunk?
Like, Eagle, why are you driving?
I don't have a quarter of this guy's money. And it never occurs to me to drive drunk. I'm always taking an Uber. If I could never drive again, I would never drive again. Driving is terrible. And it's not even made more comfortable by drinking because you're just paranoid the entire time. We're like, am I going to get pulled over because I've been drinking?
If you have fuck you money, you should be going to places. Like, it's okay to have a car if you want to drive and test drive and whatever, like have fun. But you should, if you have fuck you money, there's somebody who should be driving you everywhere you want. Especially if you're the general manager of the Mets. You don't want to be wasting time. The reason why all these billionaires in New York have drivers is because it's a lot of time. Like, time is money, right? So they're in the back seat making deals. This guy should be in the fucking back seat making deals of the fucking for the boys and not having to worry about traffic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe Francisco Lindor should give him a thumbs down.
Yeah, or Baez.
Or Baez, yeah. The thing is, honestly,
my Twitter name is thumbs up for Javi Baez.
I like it. No, the thing is with regards to this, like, I remember even like to your credit, you mentioned like how there's other things you could be doing with that time. Phillip Rivers was being driven from San Diego to LA every day, and in the backseat of that limo was literally reading his playbook, just going over his plays over and over and over, and getting ready for work.
That's all you got to do, man. That's all you got to do. It's a simple equation to being successful. Time.
And our last one for today. In a glass case of emotion, a local TV traffic reporter had an interesting moment of self-reflection while live on a broadcast.
Realize that many of you are still at home, but if you are heading out this weekend, there is some weekend construction you need to be aware of.
Our new traffic anchor, Anavid Reyes, has a look at this weekend's traffic.
Yes, Veronica, we are out here live. We're at exit 57 on I-24 East. If you're looking at traffic, don't expect too many delays. As you can see out here, things look to be moving along just fine. Over my left shoulder, you can see some minor road construction in the area, but that hasn't affected things much this morning. And oh, by the way, just real quick, my name is pronounced Anavid, not Anavid. So if I'm gonna come out here and do these live traffic reports and literally risk my life, I'd appreciate it if somebody back in the studio could learn how to pronounce my name.
Oh, I'm sorry. You got it, Anavid.
Yeah.
And what's it look like southbound?
I mean, just like in the grand scheme of life, think about what we're doing right now. I'm doing a live traffic report on television. This traffic report is going to be obsolete in 3 minutes. I mean, I know I have a report that there's construction in the area, obviously, as you know, but there's a wreck about a mile ahead. And so this is going to be, all this traffic is going to be changed in literally about 60 seconds. So
it looks like you've got an inside source on that wreck. Have you been in contact with the police chief?
Have I talked to the police chief? No, I have not. I've actually just literally looked on Google Maps, and every time you guys send me out here for a live traffic report, I literally just look on Google Maps. Oh, look, traffic. I look on Google Maps and report to you what I see here. And I don't know if you guys knew this back at the station, but every person in America has access to this.
Well, it looks cold. And it sounds like you may have woken up on the wrong side of the bed.
Yeah, I don't know, or woken up on the wrong side of the bed, or most people are still in bed because no one's watching the local news for traffic. Like in terms of figuring out the best route to work and traffic patterns, I can think of off the top of my head 57 other ways to do this more efficiently. Google Maps, Apple Maps, Bing Maps. My Uncle Ricky still has a TomTom. You can plug the address into that. I don't know. Go to a truck stop and rent a CB and talk to one of these truck drivers. He could probably tell you a better way to know what the traffic is. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out why.
Thank you, Anavid.
It's for sure fake.
He got his name wrong at the end.
It's fake. It's the girl, when the
fake?
camera's on him and you hear the girl talking, it sounds so fake.
Oh, okay.
It has to be.
I got fooled by the internet.
Fake. There's no way that they would let him on air for that long with that rant.
But so I thought of that too, and then I said, this guy would actually get me to watch the news. That traffic
100%.
report would get me to watch every day for at least 2 weeks, which is more than I've watched in the last 30 years.
100%. Why wouldn't you? The guy's everything he said was 100% true.
Yeah, because again, so the second you're seeing it, it's already out of date.
First of all, like, nobody's staying at home watching traffic reports based on to see if they're going to be late for traffic. Nobody, not one person.
Well, and I was in a friend's car, and it was the first time I listened to local radio in, I don't know, 10 years, and he had local radio on, and they're like, okay, so we're gonna come back with this conversation, but before we do that, we have, let's just say a random name, Mo Khan with traffic and weather, and I turned to my buddy and I said, are they still doing traffic and weather on local radio? Like,
I've done traffic reports.
Yeah, but they're useless because the second you get into your car, you're checking Waze, you're checking, your CarPlay, whatever it is you use. All of the apps have live traffic reports. The weather is instantaneously updated on your phone. We all have our favorite weather apps. I know whether it's a day that's safe or not for me to wear suede, which is all I really care about when I'm looking at a traffic report is, am I going to ruin my new shoes? And, that's all that matters.
The only time traffic reports matter is if there's like a 17-car pileup on the highway. So like to avoid
but your phone
that
will
highway.
tell you that. Your
I
phone
get it.
updates live traffic.
But sometimes you look at your phone, you're like, it's a little red, I'll still go there. But if you know it's a 17-car pileup, you're like, okay, I'm gonna take the 15 instead of the 13. But realistically, I used to do traffic reports at a radio station, and it was just I would look at the cameras. We had access to the cameras there, so I would just look at them and be like, okay, so the Met is from here to here is open. From here to here is closed, like it's slow. But I would do it so quickly because it didn't matter. Because the people that are listening to the traffic report are already on
in their cars.
They're already on the route that they chose.
Yeah,
that is in traffic. How shitty is it if you're listening to a traffic report and the guy's telling you, if you don't take the 13 because it's bumper to bumper because of a 17-car pileup, and then you're like, oh well, I wish I had known that 6 minutes ago.
It's like the thing in Montreal where it says you're on the highway and there's a sign that says, there's no traffic on the 40, right?
Yeah,
that's a lie.
But then but
that's like 8 hours late.
But let's say that there is no traffic, and then you hit the 15, it's bumper to bumper. Like, well, the 40 gave me I'm already on the 40. Why did I need a traffic update for the road I'm already on? Why don't you tell me about the other highways I'm going to eventually need to take?
And don't get me started on detours.
Yeah, the worst.
Especially in this city. This city, okay, brought me on a detour once to the same place, and I swear, I'm like, I'm going to follow every same place 3 times. 3 times. I'm like, I'm going to give this detour a chance. I had the time. I gave this detour a chance 3 times. 10 minutes each time. Back to the same place.
If you were any dumber, you would have died there. You'd still be driving there, and you would have died there.
Oh, I had a crazy situation with an Uber driver on the same detour. Okay.
Oh my God.
So my Uber was the restaurant I ordered from was in Ville Saint Laurent. I live in Laval. It's a 10-minute drive here. But the 13 is closed unless you get on from.
Oh, I know exactly the detour you're talking about, actually.
Yeah. So this guy he's not from Montreal. Okay. That barely speaks English. He cannot figure out how to get the food here. It took 3 hours for him to bring the food. He would call me every time he made a turn. I'm here. What do I do? I'd be like, just do this, do this. He wouldn't listen to me. I'm like, go back to the restaurant. He ended up on the other side of the highway at some point. I'm like, this guy's lost. But I didn't give up. I was like, I'm with you, buddy. Don't worry about it. I gave him a $1 tip because I was too late and it was cold.
How good was your cold food?
It was actually pretty good because I was so hungry.
Yeah, I can imagine. After 3 hours,
you had to wait 3 hours. No wonder.
Yeah. And I was already starving.
And that's about it. Terry, thank you for regaling us with your tales of terror relating to your latest Uber Eats scenario.
Eagle, I might blog it.
Hey, Eagle, thank you for all the work you've done. Actually, pretty sharp today. You looked something up.
I did.
Yeah,
very impressive.
Did work.
Very impressive.
Billion goats. Now you know.
Remember to follow us, to subscribe to everything we do, to watch what we do. We're changing our format a little bit to sort of streamline it, make the things we bring you be a little bit more relevant. We got more news about that coming, so please stick with us. We're a work in progress. We're a small startup, so every time we give you these updates, I promise we're working to make everything we do better. Thank you to our sponsors, but most of all, thank you all for letting me be myself. You've been listening to Hot Sauce Sports.
Are billy goats the ones that lick the salt off the hills there?
I don't know. The only Billies I know are named Bob Thornton.
Well, he's also named Billy.